Hey guys, I'm Shannon with Psych-Macabre. This is my first live video. Thought I'd give it a try. I've never done a live video before. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the channel, some of my books I published, the future of the channel, serial killers, horror, all things related to the channel as a whole. We can even talk paranormal if you want. So come on. I'll wait a few minutes to see if anyone comes on, and we'll start the chat. Sharing the link on Facebook real quick. All right. So, like I said, this is my first live broadcast. If you hear music in the background, I'm currently listening to Fields of the Nephilim. So let's go ahead and start. So this was the first book I published a few years back. I published it right at the start of COVID. I had actually been researching it since I was 15 years old. I published it, I want to say, at the age of 37, 38, something like that. Very first book I published, Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade. It started with... in my freshman English class, the teacher, let me turn this down a little bit so I can hear myself. The teacher told us to write an essay about a historical figure. The historical figure that most of the class chose were people like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., Michael Jordan, very popular historical, pop cultural figures at the time. I went a different route. I chose Jack the Ripper. And so that's ultimately how this book got started. Now, since this was my first published book, I went through a publishing house called Author House, which I do not recommend ever going through. I had spent well over $1,000, a couple $1,000 actually, just to get this published. And on top of paying for each copy of the book as well. And they still call me and try to upsell me on bullshit crap. I get scam calls about wanting to make a movie out of it and asking if I ever thought about writing a sequel and all this, which shows that they've never actually read the book and have no idea what my book's about. Author House is just a bullshit company altogether. Since publishing this, I've been going through Kindle Direct and Kindle Direct Publishing, which is completely free. All you pay for is the copies you order. So I've published 5 books since this, 3 of which are children's horror. One is young adult, well, all ages collection of short ghost stories, which are inspired by true events. And then one is my first full-length horror novel, which is this massive thing right here, which I'll talk about here later. But Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade is available in hardback and paperback. And the way I go about this is I talk a lot about the historical context of London at the time, the Ripper murders themselves, the canonical 5. Then I touch upon the non-canonical victims. I go into victimology, the Ripper correspondence, and then I dive into psychology, such as attachment and stage theory, personality disorders, the neurology of a killer, how killers' brains develop, specifically in the frontal lobe area. My profile of the Ripper, as well as other individuals' profiles, such as John Douglas. The usual suspects, individuals who have commonly been thought to be the Ripper throughout history. And then I talk about who I think Jack the Ripper was. And this book has received a lot of heat in Jack the Ripper groups on social media. A lot of them think my profile and my suspect are complete rubbish. These are specifically individuals across the pond over in London, the United Kingdom as a whole. Because the individual I named is such a prominent historical, cultural figure in London, and such well-beloved individual ever since the movie came out back in the early 80s. I will say my suspect was Joseph Carey Merrick, the Elephant Man. This book has been out long enough. I feel free to say that, to admit that. And that's because this actually came about. I was up late one night watching a documentary on the Elephant Man, and it came up that he lived in Whitechapel in 1888 during the Autumn of Terror. And he didn't just live in Whitechapel. He lived in I think it's called Whitechapel, or it was called at the time Whitechapel Hospital, which is less than a mile away from every last Ripper murder of the canonical 5. And as I did more research into it, I discovered his biological mother was named Mary Jane, which was the final Ripper victim, Mary Jane Kelly. I discovered that the other 4 victims were the age that his stepmother, who was very abusive of him, was at the time. And Mary Jane Kelly was actually the age that his mother would have been when she gave birth to him. And there's so much more that goes into it. Now, a lot of people will argue that Joseph Merrick couldn't possibly be the Elephant Man because of his deformities and how innocent of a man he was and all this other stuff. However, I'll say this. In the memoirs about the Elephant Man, Sir Frederick Treves, the Elephant Man's physician, his caretaker, his guardian, in his journals stated that he saw a darkness in at the time he thought his name was John Carey, or John Merrick, because of the way Merrick spoke. He slurred his words, and so he misheard Joseph as John. But he said there was a darkness to him that he hoped the world would never see. Darkness around involving women. He held women up on a pedestal. He was very timid around women. And it took a lot to break down those defenses. And a lot of times he could be very, very enraged by women as well. So that's what I go into in this book. Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade. It is available on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited. My friend Benjamin Hunter narrated the audiobook, so it's all available on Audible. And yeah, like I said, it's received a lot of hate across the pond. But I hold very strongly to my theory, to my suspect. All the other suspects are very stereotypical of what the public believes a serial killer is. And we found time and time again with serial killers throughout history, since the development of profiling and the FBI's unit on serial killers and serial crime, that what the public's perception of serial killers is, 9 times out of 10, that's not what a serial killer actually is. Generally, it's the guy next door. It's the beloved member of the community. It's the person that most people would least likely suspect. And then when it comes out that that individual was a serial killer, people are like, no, that can't be. No, that actually kind of makes sense given what we've experienced with this individual, and just different things. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, BTK, John Wayne Gacy, Son of Sam, all of these individuals were the least likely suspect for a lot of people. And it wasn't until the arrests came and all the evidence was laid forth that people began to realize that, no, this is what a serial killer is. The serial killer is the guy next door. So he's our neighbor that, goes to church, that's prominent member of society. And I think that's part of why Londoners don't want to accept Joseph Merrick as Jack the Ripper, because during his time in Whitechapel, funds were raised for him. You had the royal family sending money to the hospital to help pay for his expenses to continue to survive, to live there. You had all these wealthy individuals sending money. Everyone all over London, if they could spare it, they sent money to help support him. And so with as with the way a lot of Londoners are, they don't want to believe that they could have supported a known killer for so long. I say so long, but it wasn't really all that long. He died just a couple of years after the Ripper murders. And I think the reason why he stopped killing after Mary Jane Kelly wasn't because of his deteriorating health and the bones growths on him that he couldn't move around a lot. That may be part of it, but I think the real reason was because with Mary Jane Kelly, he felt that he had killed his mother, that he had killed the woman that brought him into the world. And if you look, Mary Jane Kelly does not fit the same victimology as the other four victims. She was blonde. She was young. She was, by all accounts, beautiful. She does not fit the same pattern that we saw with the other four. So that's part of why I believe who Jack the Ripper actually was, which I will talk about in this book. So don't believe the gossip in the Jack the Ripper groups. And a lot of those individuals from the Jack the Ripper groups did comment or write reviews on my Amazon page for the book, completely trashing it, completely trashing my theory, which I think is complete and utter nonsense for anyone to completely trash another person's theory, because we can't be 100% positive. But I've done the research. I've spent years and years researching it, and this is what I came up with. I am proud of what I wrote as my very first book. I am very proud of the theory I came up with. A lot of people support my theory. I have a forward in here from my psychology professor, who believes my theory is likely. One of my former teachers read the book. She thought it was very plausible. And so many others who have read the book have thought that it is very likely, very plausible. And so I am very proud of the effort that I put into this book. I hope you guys give it a read. Check it out. It is available, I believe, on Kindle Unlimited as well. I'll have to double check on that. Let me do that real quick. I've got time here. Okay, so it's not available on Kindle Unlimited. However, it is only $10 in American currency on Kindle. $17.46 on Audible. You can get the hardcover for $31.99 and $20.99 for the paperback. So yeah, and I have no control over those prices whatsoever. Those are the prices that Author House set, and I cannot touch those prices at all. I have no control over them. It is what it is. I do plan on maybe re-releasing it someday through Kindle Direct Publishing, updated with some probably with some new information, and I do include all my references at the end. As you can see here, I have tons of references. And those references support my theory. Sorry, I got something tickling my nose. But yeah, like I said, it's Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade, available on Amazon. Also available on Barnes & Noble and most book retailers. On Amazon, it is $9.99 on Kindle, $17.46 on Audible, or you can get it for free on Audible with 1 credit. $31.99 for the hardcover and $20.99 for the paperback. So that's Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade. The hardcover, it's printed actually on the cover itself. There's no sleeve or anything like that for it. It's actually printed on the cover. Really nice, which is good because I do not like hardcover sleeves. They just get in the way. They aggravate me anytime I try to read them. Next is, sorry, I got like fuzz or something tickling my nose. Tales from Hell's Hollow. And I did design these covers myself. Designed this cover. That's actually a picture of me with a skull photoshopped over my face. But it's a thin book. This one, let me bring it up real quick. If you get this on Amazon, it's available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a Kindle Unlimited account, it's free. Otherwise, you can get it for $2.99 on Kindle or $5.98 for the paperback. And that was the lowest I could get it through Kindle price or through Amazon pricing. That was the absolute lowest I could price it at. But it has a collection of 6 short ghost stories. Story 1 is the spirit board. Story 2 is the barn. Story 3 is the headstone. Story 4 is the photo. Story 5, the rocking chair. Story 6, 4 Seasons, the Shadow Man Cometh. And these are all inspired by actual events that I've experienced or someone else in my family has experienced. So let me go ahead and read the introduction to you here real quick. Somewhere in the Midwestern United States resides a place cursed by centuries of evil. Developed on an ancient Indian burial ground, this area has seen its share of wickedness. It's long been haunted by its cannibalistic past, along with whispers of torture by a plague of bandits, flying devils, demonic entities, strange apparitions, and a murderous cult. The area I refer to is located in central Illinois, along the Sangamon River. It's a hollow of trees which backs up to one of the most legendary haunted cemeteries in the world. Originally, this place was just a small location where the evils it held were contained within its boundaries. However, over the years, the horrors have been released and spread outward for miles, affecting neighboring towns and the people who reside within them. The river which runs past this place is often said to at one time have run red with the blood of innocents murdered by the hounds of the hollow. Stories of torture, a corrupt police force, and satanic sacrifices have spread far and wide. The roots of wickedness that spread out from the hollow's demonic heart extend further and further with each passing year, corrupting everything it reaches. What you are about to read is inspired by true events. The names of the characters in each story have been changed from their real-life counterparts, but the basis for each story is real. Each of these stories took place reasonably close to the hollow. Leave on a light. You're in for a fright as you receive 6 haunting tales from Hell's Hollow. That was the introduction. This was my 3rd book that I published. And was story number 1, The Spirit Board. This was actually inspired by a story I grew up hearing from my father, who found a spirit board at a town rummage sale, along with his wife at the time. And they decided to play it. And after that, a lot of really strange things started happening. The house shaking, a figure standing in their window that they couldn't see, but their dog could. And it wasn't until a photograph was taken that they saw what their dog was seeing. Attempts at destroying the board that went awry. Stuff like that. I wanted to turn that into a short horror film at one time, but I figured too much would go into it, special effects would go into it to really make it the way it's always been presented to me. So I decided to turn it into a short horror story. The Barn, which is story number 2, was about my family and I used to live on our family farm. And one day a friend of my mom's came to visit with her son. And we were playing outside at night and saw a figure go across the yard and into our barn. And I won't go into details about it because I want to leave that for you to read for yourselves. But it terrified us as kids. The headstone, that's story number 3, and that comes from, it's tied into story number 4, which is the photo. And it comes from the house I used to live in with my ex-wife. I would wake up in the middle of the night and there would be figures standing over our bed, just staring at us. In both of these stories, the headstone and the photo, there were situations like that. And I won't say too much about it because it'll spoil the stories for you. But then story number 5 is The Rocking Chair. This occurred at a house I used to live in with my ex-girlfriend. And she would specifically hear things in the middle of the night while I was working security. She would hear things out in our living room, hardwood floors. She would hear what sounded like a rocking chair rocking on our hardwood floor, and we didn't own a rocking chair. And other things like I would get a really bad feeling about our basement. That just made the hairs all over my body stand up on end. And it was just a very, very strange situation. And then story number 6, 4 Seasons, The Shadow Man Cometh. That was inspired by something my wife told me that my kids saw outside that I thought was a really cool idea for a story. And so I kind of expanded on it. And it's actually told in present tense. First person present tense. Which is something I haven't actually seen done before in writing. I've always seen past tense or first person, third person, sometimes even second person, but I've never seen first person present tense done before. So yeah, that's Tales from Hell's Hollow, available on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited for free, or if you want to buy it on Kindle, it's $2.99, or paperback is $5.98. So check that out. And then before I get into my first horror novel, we'll talk about my second book I wrote, as well as my other 3 children's horror books that I wrote. The first one is Hollow Screams, Day of the Dolls. This cover was written or designed. I designed most of the cover, but this part here was drawn by a friend of mine. Her name's S.M. She drew. I really liked it. I wanted. I described what I wanted, and she drew it for me. So really nice. I liked it. This is actually inspired by a recurring nightmare I had as a kid, where dolls come to life and try to make me one of them. I expanded upon that quite a bit, used a lot of my childhood in this book. So let me go ahead and read you the synopsis. Now the dolls play with you. It's summer vacation, and Mike has to visit family out of town for a week. But he'd much rather hang out with his friends. Instead, he's stuck at his grandparents' house. Sure, he gets to go swimming and horseback riding, but it's no fun for him due to his asthma. His grandparents won't let him go in the deep end of the pool, and they also make him eat all the foods he hates, like spinach. But those aren't the worst parts. What could be worse than all this? Having to share a room with creepy dolls that move on their own when he's not looking, in order to terrorize them. Beware, terror within. So, Hollow Screams is actually the title of the book series, kind of like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, stuff like that. And currently there are 3 of them. I'm working on the 4th one right now. I've been working on it for a while. I got kind of burned out, so I've been just doing it sporadically here and there. But yeah, I really like this one. I've always wanted to turn it into an actual story because it was inspired by an actual recurring nightmare that I've had. Just a second. Yeah, I don't know you. I get these texts all the time. They're bullshit. Some girl sending me pictures of themselves. You know they're bullshit. I block them and delete them. So, yeah, there's that. This is available on Amazon. It's also available on Audible. The same guy who narrated Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade, also narrated this. He did a very well job. Ben Hunter. He's narrated a lot of books. For Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade was his very first narration that he did. And then I hired him to do this. We became friends. In fact, he's been on here on some of our podcast videos discussing serial killers and stuff. But it's available on Kindle. It's currently not on Kindle Unlimited. I need to figure out how to put it on Kindle Unlimited. But it's available for $2.99 on Kindle. You can also get it for $6.08 on Audible, or spend 1 credit on it. It's also $6.52 in paperback. But those are the minimum price. That was the minimum I could set it at. If I could go lower, I would. I know it's kind of pricey compared to books like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, stuff like that. But those are published in bulk. These are published or printed on demand. So that's why they're a little bit more pricey than other books. Yeah, and this is a continuing series I'm doing. All these Hollow Screams books are set in the same universe, have the same characters, at least for volume 1, for the first 4 books. Eventually, once I finish the 4th story, I am going to publish a collected volume of all 4 stories together, maybe hardback or something like that. I'm not sure yet. And that one's going to be called Legend of the Grassman. I build up to it in all of these stories. It's mentioned in one form or another in each of these stories, the Grassman. And it's going to conclude those characters' story. And then eventually I'll move on to other characters. But this one, Day of the Dolls, this was my second published book. This one I published right after Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade, because I already had the story in my head. It was based on a dream I had. It didn't take me long at all to write this. And then Tales from Hell's Hollow was my third published book. And then number 4 was Hollow Scream's Ghost House. This is just a fun haunted house story. Not really inspired by anything from real life or anything like that. It just inspired by all the other haunted house stories I've read or heard growing up. And it's just a fun ghost story. Jake Whitney recently moved into a creepy old house in a new town where his dad is about to start a job as a principal of the local middle school. Jake's new friends tell him that the old principal lived in the same house he now resides in with his parents. But he left as summer break began in the middle of the night, never to be heard from again. There's local legends which tell of all the creepy things that happen in the town he moved to. But Jake doesn't believe any of it. That is until he begins experiencing things that make him believe his house is haunted. Beware, read if you dare, open at your own risk. Hollow Scream's Ghost House. This is also available on Amazon. It is not available on Audible, though. I haven't had any luck with the Hollow Scream's Day of the Dolls on Audible. So far, it's only had one purchase on there. So I can't really justify spending the money to have Ben narrate another Hollow Screams book unless I'm actually going to make that money back. But it is available on Kindle Unlimited. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited for free, or you can buy it on Kindle for $2.99. The paperback is also $6.40. And these Hollow Screams books are just fun reads for kids. I believe ages 6 and up is who it's for. Six and up is and grade level 3 through 7 mostly, but anyone can find enjoyment in these books. I've had adults tell me they've read them and it reminds them a lot of Goosebumps, old school Goosebumps books from the 90s. So yeah, check it out. And then we have Hollow Screams The Haunted Skateboard. This was actually inspired by a skateboard I had growing up. It was a mass-produced skateboard that I won during a school, one of those school fundraisers things. I sold enough things to be able to pick some pretty expensive prizes. I saw the skateboard. It was a Nash Nightmare board. Nightmare 2 or Nightmare 3, I believe. It had the guy on the bottom. It had a hockey mask. Looked like Jason Voorhees. But it had like a creepy hand with long fingernails that kind of reminded me of Freddy Krueger. It said Nightmare on it. This board can be seen in a lot of movies from the 80s and early 90s. It was in a scene from Child's Play 2 where Andy pulls the Chucky doll down from the closet. The skateboard is up there. It's a different color, though. Mine was the color of this book, and I haven't seen very many like it. It was also a lot more rounded than some of the other skateboards in the series that I've seen. Just really cool looking skateboard. I wish I still had it. I think it got left behind in one of my mini moves. I don't know, but like I said, this is based in the same universe and involves the same characters as the other two books. This board is to die for. How much does Blake like skateboarding? So much that it'll be the death of him. He dreams of one day going pro and being a champion, but all his dreams come crashing down when his board breaks in a freak accident. Blake soon comes upon another board, a much older board with a cool design. The board has long gone unclaimed and has been collecting dust for years. Blake begins to use the board and finds that he's much better than before. Soon, Blake realizes that he's not controlling the board. The board is controlling him. Leave on a light, you're in for a fright. And ride or die. But yeah, it's for ages 6 and up. Well, I guess this one is set for ages 8 to 12, but grade level 3 through 7. And like I said, it's available on Kindle Unlimited for free, or you can buy the Kindle version for $2.99. It's also available in paperback for $5. So not too pricey. My kids really enjoyed them. Like I said, I've had some adults read them, say they really like them. They've told me that it reminds them a lot of the old school Goosebumps books from the 90s. Yeah, I know Goosebumps is still relevant today, but not as relevant as it was in the 90s. And the same girl, Esme, same friend, designed the covers for all 3 books. I designed the actual layout. She designed the images inside. So, and again, I'm working on the 4th installment of the Hall of Scream series now. That it's going to be green. I try to have a different color for each one. And it's going to be green, and it's called Legend of the Grassman, which I talk about the Grassman in each of these books. It's building up to that story. So, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm hoping to have it done by the time I go to the Purgatory Horror Convention in Springfield, Illinois in October. I'm one of the guests there, which I'll be talking about here in just a little bit. So that leads me to my final book, The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. And if you're wondering why all of my books revolve around Hell's Hollow, as you can see, The Haunting of Hell's Hollow, Tales from Hell's Hollow, and Hollow Screams, it's because Hell's Hollow is a real place located here in central Illinois. I grew up with stories of this place. My friends and I, back in high school, we used to go and visit there at night, try to see ghosts, and hear the Native American calls that are rumored to occur at night. But this was my first attempt at an adult, full-length horror novel. It comes in at about 565 pages. And it's gotten a lot of reads on Amazon and Kindle, but only one review. It was a good review, but people aren't really telling me what they think of it. So I have no clue how to recommend this to you guys. I will say it is very, very graphic. It is not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of very graphic sex scenes in here. There are scenes that involve torture, grape, very, very horrific. This was actually inspired by short films that I did on this channel early on this channel called The Watching. I believe they were the originators of Tales from Hell's Hollow, that are also short horror films on here. If you go back to the very earliest videos on this channel, you'll find them. This is something I was messing around with back in the day. I wanted to shoot some short horror films with no real dialogue or anything. And that's what inspired this story, along with all the legends of Hell's Hollow that I've heard over the years. There is a lot of description in it. Actual description, not like Stephen King description, but describing the environment, describing the scene, describing the individuals, stuff like that. But it's available on Amazon. Let me find it here. It's on Kindle Unlimited. You can get it for free on Kindle Unlimited, or if you want to buy the ebook, it's $2.99. Paperback is $20.56. That was the lowest I could get it. I couldn't get it any lower than that. No one leaves the Hollow, not even in death. Everyone's heard of Hell's Hollow. It's a place with a haunted history that stalks the minds of the small Midwestern town's residents. Stories of murder, devil worship, cannibalism, torture, curses, and an ancient Indian burial ground are whispered. Everyone's heard them but Lisa, desperate for a fresh start after an extended period of mourning and ready to begin a new life on her own. Lisa buys a house in the Hollow. It's the perfect place to start over after starting a new job at a local hospital. That is, until darkness falls. Nurses that Lisa works with on the midnight shift share details about the history of Hell's Hollow in their downtime. But she isn't one to believe everything she hears. That is, until a putrid smell drifts through the house and lingers with unknown origins. Shadows can be seen moving through the darkness, and night terrors torment her sleep. But a familiar face from her past arrives to help her sort through it all and wash away the bad dreams, testing her will to remain independent. The ground is stained with blood. The air is haunted by residual emotion that intensifies every experienced feeling and thought. Fantasies become reality as Halloween approaches, and Lisa is joined by her friends from college to join in the festivities. But when a mysterious disappearance disrupts the party, and the missing person's truck is found in the woods, Lisa and her friends search the Hollow and find more than what they expected. The hounds thirst for blood. The Hollow hungers. The damned watch and wait. So this is The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. Like I said, it's a very, very graphic horror story. Not for the faint of heart. It involves torture. It involves very graphic sex scenes. Scenes involving grape. And just It's a very violent book. I'll warn you that. Um, not for the faint of heart at all. Um, my wife, she got to one scene, and she had to stop reading. Very descriptive. I just describe it in great detail. Um, and the one review I have gotten from it says that it's very easy to follow. You don't feel lost at all while reading it. You know exactly what's going on. And I think that's due to the description or descriptives that I use in it. But it's The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. And it's available on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited for free. You can get it for $2.99 as an ebook. Or paperback is $20.56. And it's 565 pages. So it's not a short read. But I hope it is worth it for you. I enjoyed writing this. I enjoyed reading it back. This was really a labor of love. And I hope to be able to tell more horror stories like this in the future. But it's hard to know if I should continue or not when I'm not receiving feedback from readers to let me know what they enjoyed and what they didn't enjoy in my books. Like I said, they're getting read, they're getting bought, but I'm not getting a lot of feedback on them. So if you do pick this book up and read it, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what I could have done better. Help me become a better author. So yeah, I designed this cover myself. I really liked how it turned out. And like I said, Hell's Hollow is a real place in Decatur, Illinois, where I'm from. Sorry, I've still got like a fuzz or something tickling my nose. And that has been what's inspired most of my books. I do have another haunting book that's set in the same universe that I've been working on for a while. I published 6 books in like 2 years' time. These 6 books here, which I've talked about today. And it really burned me out. So now I'm just kind of taking my time. I published them all during COVID. So, I had nothing other than school and writing to do. I published these during while I was working on my associate's degree in psychology. And each semester I took like 5 or 6 classes per semester. And in my downtime, I wrote. And that's all I did. So I was able to put out a lot of books in just a short amount of time. Now I'm taking more of a break. I'm kind of stretching the books I'm working out quite a bit. Like I said, I'm working on the 4th installment of the Hall of Scream series, Legend of the Grassman. And I'm working on another haunting book called The Haunting of Jarvis Manor, set in the same universe as The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. It's very close to Hell's Hollow. Again, inspired by a real location. Jarvis Manor. The Powers Jarvis Manor mansion here in Decatur, Illinois, has a long history. I'm not sure it's got a haunted history, but when I used to deliver pizzas in high school, I would pass by this house all the time. I just fell in love with it. Its style, its architecture. If you look up pictures online of the Powers Jarvis Manor, Decatur, Illinois, you'll see what I mean. It's got lion statues outside in the driveway. Very beautiful house. And it's what inspired the book I've been working on for a while, The Haunting of Jarvis Manor. I like to base my books on real locations or real experiences. I like to utilize real experiences to inspire my books. I think where I'm going to go after this is I'd like to start working on some, because I have my associate's and my bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm currently working on my master's degree in clinical counseling. I'd like to start writing some more psychology-based books revolving around autism, personality disorders, and attachment disorder. I myself am autistic. I received my diagnosis back in May at the age of 41, which has explained a lot about me throughout my life. And I've just learned everything I can about autism. I absorb as much information about it as I can. And there's just a shortage of professionals who are experienced in autism and who can work with autistic adults out there. And that's where I want once I receive my master's degree, once I receive my professional license, my LCPC, that's who I want to work with. Adult autistics, people with personality disorders, families that are struggling with attachment disorders, because they're all related. And that's where I kind of want my books to go into. And without knowing that I was autistic myself, one of the main characters in this book, the hero of the book, is autistic. And he's actually the main character of the other book I'm working on, The Haunting of Jarvis Manor. And so without knowing that I was autistic, I actually made the main characters of my books autistic as well. And it's something I like learning about. It's something I like sharing with other people. And so I want to really put that into my books in the future. When I'm feeling creative, I'll probably come back to fiction. But I would really like to share all the information I've gathered with other people who are going through the same thing. Information on autism, information on personality disorders, information on attachment disorders. I shared a lot of the information in this book, Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade, on personality disorders and attachment disorders. It's just something I love talking about. I have a TikTok that I talk a lot about mental health on. You can find it. Mr. Cornthwaite is the name I go by on there. Sorry, I still got fuzz tickling my nose. But yeah, writing during COVID was like a hyper focus for me. I always got my college assignments done rather quickly. I made it on the dean's list during the last semester of my bachelor's degree. And I took a lot of classes at the time. And so when I wasn't working on assignments, I always felt like there was something I needed to be doing. And so I just wrote. I wrote 6 books in 2 years' time, which was really a labor of love for me, but it also ended up burning me out rather quickly. As you can imagine, writing that much in such a short period of time can burn anyone out, really. And so that's why I'm taking my time with these books that I've been working on. Hollow Screams, Legend of the Grassman is going to be the 4th book in the Hollow Screams children's horror series. And then The Haunting of Jarvis Manor I don't think it's going to be as thick as The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. I'm going to try to maybe cut that in half. I read a lot of Darcy Coates books back there. And a lot of Penelope Douglas, which aren't really haunting books. They're coming of age stories that have very graphic sex scenes in them. But I actually came across Penelope Douglas long after I had actually published The Haunting of Hell's Hollow. And I realized that she goes into even more detail in her sex scenes than I did with this book. Like I said, a lot of very graphic sex scenes here. And Penelope Douglas goes even more in depth in her descriptions of sex scenes. Which is funny, when I first discovered her as an author, I was listening to her one of her audiobooks. It was Punk 57, which I ended up buying the actual paperback copy of. I was listening to it on Audible while I was doing the dishes, and I didn't realize how graphic of the sex scenes she described in her books. It was the first book of hers that I had ever listened to. So I was doing dishes. I had it on on our speaker, on our Alexa device. And as the first sex scene starts, my wife comes walking downstairs and she hears the description of it. Fortunately, my kids weren't around at the time. But she was like, "What kind of smut are you listening to?" So I learned real quick to only listen to Penelope Douglas books with earbuds in or when no one else is around, because they do get pretty graphic pretty quickly. But yeah, I have a lot of Darcy Coates. I want to get some more Penelope Douglas books. Right now, I am listening to Five Brothers by Penelope Douglas. I listened to Credence. I got a few of her other books on Audible as well. I got some Goosebumps books over here. I got The Exorcist, some Lisa Stone books, some Grady Hendrix. I really like Grady Hendrix's books. John Douglas. I really like his books as well. And yeah, I mean, in college during my associate's degree, my major was psychology, but I took just as many sociology classes as I took psychology classes. So I kind of dual majored in psychology and sociology, and those sociology classes included criminology, criminal justice style classes and stuff. And then when I worked on my bachelor's, I minored in criminal justice, majored in psychology. So I took a lot of criminal justice-based classes along with psychology-based classes. Learned everything I could during that period. And yeah, I've always really been intrigued by crime, by serial killers, mass murder, stuff like that. Which a lot of times in the media, those words will be switched back and forth between. But there is a clear distinction between serial killers, mass murderers, spree killers. I did a thing. I think I posted it on here a while back. Just a short or a picture, actually, going over the horror movie serial killers and telling which was which. Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Ghostface, which ones they fit into, whether they were mass murderers, serial killers, spree killers, thrill killers. So yeah, and I went into the victimology and described what distinguished each type. If you can find it on the page. I don't know if I still have it on my phone or not, or even on my computer. I know I shared it on Facebook, I shared it on Instagram, and I think I shared it here on the channel as well. And I think when we were doing the podcast, we went into that as well for our Halloween special, taking different serial killers, spree killers, and stuff from the horror movies, and treating them like real life killers, and developing a profile around them. That was really fun. So yeah, with the spooky season coming up, one of my favorite horror movies that I have to watch every year is Scream. Scream and Scream 2 are probably the best from the franchise. After that, they kind of go downhill. The last Scream movie was horrible. It was absolutely atrocious. The reveal didn't really make sense. It felt like it was just thrown together. The second to last Scream movie was pretty good. The reboot with Emma Roberts was fairly good. Scream 3 was, I won't go as far as to say it was trash, but it was probably one of my least favorite until the most recent Scream came on. There was a time when I had to binge watch the Halloween movies every Halloween. Now, I do that maybe every other year. If I do watch a Halloween movie, it's only like one of the movies. I went to watch H2O in theaters, and I truly thought that was going to be the final Halloween movie because of how it ended. And I may be an outlier, but I really liked Resurrection. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I will say it wasn't the worst Halloween movie. I think the worst Halloween movie was the 3 reboots that they did in recent years, as well as Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I did kind of like the first Halloween movie, but I always thought that if they returned to the original franchise, the original series, that they should treat Rob Zombie's Halloween movies as in-universe, inspired by real events movies. So like have the Rob Zombie Halloween movies be the Halloween movies for the main Halloween universe. And I really liked the comics that kind of tied Halloween 6 and H2O together very nicely. I thought it made it plausible to make them a shared universe, but canonically, there's like, I hate that there's like 4 different Halloween universes or timelines now. There's Halloween 1, 2, 4, and 5. 4, 5, and 6 are a universe. Then Halloween 1, 2, H2O, and Resurrection are a completely separate universe. Then Halloween 1, and then the 3 most recent Halloween movies are a third universe. Plus the 2 Rob Zombie films are a fourth universe. And I'm not sure if Halloween 3 is canonically a part of all those universes except for the Rob Zombie universe or not. I know Michael Myers is kind of mentioned in the third movie very briefly. But yeah, I wish they would have done a movie tying the 2 main Halloween universes together to make it one canonical universe. I really like how the comic handled that, and I wish they would make that canon. Just to make it a little bit more simplified, so there weren't all these branches of Halloween universes out there. At Purgatory Horror Convention this October 5th in Springfield, Illinois, I will be sharing, or I will be with side by side with a few horror legends. Let me bring it up real quick. Probably sharing a table with them or something. I'm not sure exactly how the layout's going to be. Okay. So at Purgatory Horror Con, we'll have Ari Lehman, which was the first Jason, child Jason from Nightmare, from Friday the 13th, the first one. And he'll be signing autographs, and he'll be performing with his band, First Jason. We'll also have Ken Sigos, who played Kincaid in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. And then Bishop Stevens. On my other channel, Come Again TV, I interviewed Eric Hector from Heroic Age Studios, who wrote, directed, and produced a movie that Bishop Stevens will be in called Tricks and Treats. So look out for that. He's shopping it around right now to some streaming services. But Bishop Stevens will be there, as well as Sammy Morningstar. She's an indie horror film actress, podcaster, and writer. She's been in a few indie horror films. And then me. I'll have my books for sale there as well. This is going to be October 5th. And it's $40 in advance. You can get tickets now, or $45 at the entrance day of the event. Looks like it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 11. So yeah, if you're in the Illinois area, Central Illinois, come to Springfield on October 5th. I think it's actually going to be in Mechanicsburg, which is right next to Springfield. But I'll be there selling books, signing books. You also get to meet some horror legends. So yeah, you guys aren't really giving me much to talk about. You're not commenting or anything. You're not chatting. Help me out here, guys. My voice is kind of getting a little raw. Trying to think of things to talk about in my first live here on YouTube. If you hear music in the background, I am listening to Fields of the Nephilim. I came across their music a little while ago and really like it. I'm not really like a diehard fan. Like, I don't know who the band members are. I don't know the names of all their songs or their albums or anything, but I do really like their music. I've had it playing in the background all day today. Fields of the Nephilim. Just kind of fell in love with their style. And I'm too old now to be going back and trying to memorize their whole catalog and memorize their band members and their band history and everything. So I just turn on their music and let it play. And yeah. But again, you can purchase my books on Amazon. We have The Haunting of Hell's Hollow 565 pages of horror, which include very graphic sex scenes, rape, torture. It truly is the definitive torture porn book. Very graphic, very descriptive. It was a labor of love writing this. And I know that's strange to say, being that I describe it as torture porn. But it allowed me to reach places within my own psyche that I've never even really wanted to reach before. And yeah, it was a place where I could just lay down all the darkness inside of my own soul. And yeah, I loved writing it. It by far my favorite of all the books I've written so far. And it's available on Amazon. Let me bring that back up again real quick. It's available Kindle Unlimited for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited account. Or you can buy the ebook for $2.99. You can also buy the paperback for $20.56. And again, that is the minimum I was able to price it. Kindle Unlimited has, not Kindle Unlimited, but KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, has their costs that they have to pay for. And so this was the absolute minimum that they allowed me to set it at. So $20.56 for paperback. We also have Tales from Hell's Hollow, my collection of 6 short horror stories, ghost stories. And that is available on Amazon as well. Kindle Unlimited for free, $2.99 for the ebook if you don't have Kindle Unlimited. Otherwise, you can buy the paperback copy for $5.98. Quick read, you can get through it in an afternoon or an evening. Probably take you maybe an hour and a half to read the whole book. Then we have Hollow Screams, the 3 Hollow Screams books, Day of the Dolls, Ghost House, and The Haunted Skateboard. Each of these are available on Amazon. Day of the Dolls is available on Audible as well, narrated by Ben Hunter, who has narrated 2 of my books so far. If you have an Audible account, you can use a free credit on it to get it. Otherwise, it's $6.08, which is the minimum I was able to set it for. It is not on Kindle Unlimited. However, you can buy it on Kindle for $2.99 or buy the paperback for $6.52. And then we have Ghost House, which is available on Kindle Unlimited for free. Or if you don't have a Kindle Unlimited account, you can buy the ebook for $2.99 or buy the paperback for $6.40. It is not available on Audible, though. I'm waiting to see if Day of the Dolls gets more purchases on Audible before I do any more audiobook versions of Hollow Screams books. And then we have The Haunted Skateboard, which is available on Amazon as well. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited for free. Or if you don't have a Kindle Unlimited account, you can buy it for $2.99 on Kindle. or $5 for the paperback. And then we have my very first book ever, Jack the Ripper, The Man Behind the Blade. This was published through Author House, so they set all the pricing. I have no control over the pricing whatsoever. Although I set the pricing for the audiobook because I produced the audiobook. I paid for it myself. Ben Hunter narrates it on Audible. You can get it for a credit on Audible, or you can buy it for $17.46 on Audible. You can get the paperback for $20.99, or the hardcover here for $31.99. And like I said, the cover is printed on. There's no sleeve. So the hardcover is $31.99. Or you can get it on Kindle for $9.99. It is not available on Kindle Unlimited since Author House published it. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it a day on this live stream. I've been at it for an hour and 20 minutes. No one's wanting to chat, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. I hope to do more of these live streams. I did kind of enjoy it. It was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. Normally, I don't like doing live streams, but probably do more of these. So take care, guys.